What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk about the Final Fantasy XVI demo. I just beat the game. Well, beat the game. I beat the demo roughly about an hour ago. I put overall, I think, almost 4 hours into the demo because you have the main story bit, and then when you complete the game, you have this some kind of challenge thing. I think it's called Icon Challenge or something, where essentially you get to test out other things you couldn't check out in the demo because the demo is the first few hours of Final Fantasy 16. It actually gives you a good bit of time to get to know some of the characters, get to know some of the stories, see where Clive, the main character, has where he came from, and all that good stuff. So it's a pretty lengthy demo, and really, I just want to make the video just to talk about it because I love Final Fantasy. If you're new here to the channel, if you've been here for a while, you probably know. But if you're new here, please hit the like button, please. um, but if you are new here, we are big Final Fantasy fans here. Me, I know I run a lot of things on the channel here, but when I say we, I'm talking about my co-host of the Deadhead podcast, one yellow orange, but we just call him Jan. We're big Final Fantasy guys. We love this series. We love all the games, and we were really looking forward to this one. I'm more so looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but I'm not trying to take anything away from this game because I played through the demo and I wanted to give you my thoughts on the first few hours of Final Fantasy 16. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for coming to the channel. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like on this video and subbing to the channel, we really would appreciate it. And if you like Final Fantasy, stick around for a while because we're going to have podcast episodes. I'm sure I'll do videos and all kinds of things leading up to the release of Final Fantasy 16, if not, definitely after. But anyway, with that being said, it's a long ass intro. Let's get into Final Fantasy 16 demo. So I can probably sum up the first few hours of Final Fantasy 16 in one sentence or one slang or term. This game is dark as fuck. That's it. This is one of the darkest Final Fantasy stories to date. This game starts off with, obviously it's a situation. You're in the middle of a war. I don't want to go into too much detail. If you haven't played it, I definitely recommend you checking it out, just so you can get to know the characters and the combat and things of that nature. But this game starts out and you're in the middle of war. And it keeps going, it keeps going. And when the demo ends, is at the darkest point I've ever seen the series go. And you really start to see, holy shit. And then you see like a holy shit moment, and then you see the logo, Final Fantasy 16. And it was like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is like, it's nuts to me. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna sit here and say this demo was perfect, but I will say it definitely hit the tone, man. I'm like, okay, this is a different kind of story than what we are accustomed to. Final Fantasy has always had, adult like themes in it. But this is surely, for sure, the darkest story so far in the Final Fantasy franchise. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air, to be honest, man. Let's get to some of the characters for a second. Really, it's a lot of characters. So I'm gonna kind of talk about Clive for a second and talk about the overall tone. Listen, this is a dark story through and through. I mean, and I don't even know the whole thing, but from the start, it's just dark as shit. But you know what helps with that? The voice acting and the performance captures. Dude, listen, the people that are involved with this game, the actors behind Clive and the people around him, his brother, his dad, like the people around him, his mentor, right? And you'll see as you play through the demo, they are beautifully acted. They feel so real. Really, to me, what it comes closest to, and if I'm gonna stay within the franchise here, it's very, very close to Final Fantasy VII. Now, as of right now, I prefer Final Fantasy VII, and I don't see that changing. I'm just an uber fan when it comes to Seven, the Seven remake, and Seven Rebirth. But this game has such realistic characters. They feel so real because they're beautifully acted. You could go back to different installments in this franchise and be like, man, the acting was a little corny there. Like Final Fantasy 15, for example. Good game. I'm not going to say it's great. It's got a lot of issues. But one thing I had an issue was with the voice acting. Not really Noctis as much, not the main character, but mostly the boys, the people in the gang. You know, what is it? Gladio, Ignis, and what's his name? It's not. I can't remember his name. Prompto, something like that. Annoying as hell. The voice acting. It's not that it's bad. It's just really cheesy. It's very anime style. This to me feels when I'm sitting here and I'm playing. You know, I have the controller in my hand and I'm playing it. And I had to text the wife, you know, because it was early in the morning. Like, this is my first day off I've had in a while. And so I'm sitting there on my couch and I got the controller in my hand and I text my wife and I say, wow, this is truly an experience. She said, what do you mean? I said, this is so gosh dang cinematic. It's so cinematic. This game is like watching a film. And you know, and I've had games like that. There are plenty of examples. I'm not sitting here. This is the only game out there that exists to this extent. But I just thought it was really well done. The big set pieces when you have icon versus icon. There's a sequence in that, and it's like, whoa. Now, I will say this. I digress. I thought the gameplay section of that was a little boring. And that's just me. And you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil the whole thing. I probably will put some footage here, and there of what I'm talking about. I just thought it was kind of boring. I died a couple times too because of some bullshit. And I was like, okay, this looks cool. This looks awesome. Like the effects and these big ass beings going toe to toe. But me controlling it, I'd rather just watch it, in my opinion. Like, I understand they're trying to involve the player, right? And like, this is like and I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time in this franchise, especially in the mainline series, where you get to play. I'm assuming, right? You get to play as more of the summons that you've gotten from the other Final Fantasy games. And so I'm playing through this, and I just felt like it was kind of boring. At least this one sequence, me playing it, watching it. Oh yeah, dude, I'd be mesmerized because it's really it's a sight to see, man. Just to see how much time and how much resources was put into these fight scenes, and it gets me excited for what's more to come. I just hope that the battles with these beasts are a bit more elaborative, a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more involved. Because I just felt like it was just, I don't know. It was my least favorite part of the entire gameplay experience. But yeah, so that was really the one thing that I took away from it. I was like, not a huge fan of. But other than that, it was an enjoyable experience. I really liked the world they established here. They're going back to that medieval setting. I liked it when it was first announced, and I like it more here. When you first get introduced to your first, like, quote unquote kingdom here, I know it's got a different name. I think it's Rosario, I believe. I'm still learning the lore, man. It's a lot. They throw a lot at you in the early stages of this game. When you get to that first castle, it's like, wow. I mean, it's like, it looks like, honestly, it reminded me of like Demon Souls, like the level of quality that the environment looked like. And it was really, really neat to have this back in a Final Fantasy game because it's been a while since we've seen that. Like, you have Final Fantasy VII that's in a very like semi-futuristic area, and then you have Final Fantasy 15. It's more like modern with a little bit more futuristic elements, but it's more modern, right? The setting of Eos and all that stuff. So it's kind of a breath of fresh air again to go back into this more medieval setting. So I really like that. Very, very detailed. To go to the characters, I can't really give you much there. I will say I was fearing because when the game starts off, you're at a different point of Clive's life. So he's the main protagonist of the game. You're in a different part of his life a little bit later. And he just kind of seemed a little bit too stoic. Now, like, you could make the argument, okay, well, Cloud Strife is a bit too stoic, but you get to know Cloud a bit more. Like, and I'm hoping that's the same way with Clive. Like, and seeing what he goes through in this demo. And again, I don't want to spoil it. I think you can probably get a hint from me just talking about it. But seeing what he goes through in this demo, it totally makes sense. But I am excited to see peel back the layers of Clive a little bit to maybe him being a very, very iconic character in this franchise. Because I think what Final Fantasy has done a really, really good job of over the years is that the protagonists and mostly the protagonists are very memorable. You remember them pretty, they left such an impression on the player, especially myself when I played through the games, that you never forget them. You know, I'm still thinking about Voss from Final Fantasy 12. I still think about Titus from Final Fantasy 10. You know, Noctis from Final Fantasy 15, Cloud, Final Fantasy 7. Like you have these memorable protagonists. Squall from Final Fantasy 3. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Leon, Squall, whatever. I remember these characters. They're really, really memorable. So I'm really excited to see Clive's story and to see where they go with that and see if he's on the same level and the same tier as as Voss and Titus and Cloud and things of that nature. Probably not Cloud. Cloud is just so memorable and his story is still going on in the Final Fantasy VII uh, remake trilogy. So maybe it won't be to that extent, but I hope it'll be pretty memorable. But very, very dark game. I've never heard the word fuck so many times in a Final Fantasy VII game. Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy 16. Or a Final Fantasy game in general. I've never heard the word fuck used this many times. I don't think I've ever heard it. Maybe they might have said it one time in the 7 remake. I know they said shit a couple times, but I don't know. I don't think they've ever said fuck, and it's kind of it's weird to be playing Final Fantasy and to have characters say the F word just so naturally, like it's not even a thing, But at the end of the day, it's just words, right? But it's kind of weird to hear that in a Final Fantasy game. So it was. I keep saying a breath of fresh air, and I know it's probably getting annoying, but it just felt different and a very very good different too. Like it just felt like with the world they were establishing, the story. It's brutal. There's some brutal scenes, decapitations starting off in the very beginning of the game. It's a really wild experience. Let's get to combat really fast because I don't want this video going 30 minutes long. But let's talk about combat. I feared. Now I don't know if you guys felt this way. I felt that the combat was a bit too flashy for my liking. I'm so stuck in this Final Fantasy VII remake battle system where you have your action RPG elements and then you can pause time and pick your abilities you want to use to make it more of a traditional turn-based battle system. And I love that system. Final Fantasy 16 does not have that. This is straight up action RPG. You either love it or you hate it. Putting about 4 hours into it because I played the extra content after the demo, I like it a lot better than I thought. Now, it's still not my favorite. I think it's still going to take some time for me to get completely used to it. I didn't like the combat system in Final Fantasy 15. I thought it was shit, to be honest with you. It's not a bad game, and if you like it, great. I like the game, but the combat system to me just left a lot to be desired. Didn't feel very weighty at all. Um, I kind of get those same vibes here, but I think there's way more to combat here. There's so many different variations of combat as far as having icon abilities. As you go in the game, I'm sure you'll get more like summons, icon abilities, and things like that. The mode I was playing on, you could cycle between three of them. I think it was Titan, Phoenix, and there was another one. I don't remember what it was. But you got to use some of their abilities with your regular sword attacks. And I thought that was a really good addition and changed up combat a little bit more than what it did in the demo. It's very fast paced. It's very, it's not too many moments where I'm stalling, It can be tactical. It can be very tactical depending on the boss you're fighting. And like again, I should have gameplay all throughout this video, so you'll see a little bit of that if you're on the fence about it. All in all, look, it feels good. I wouldn't say it's like the best feeling, and it's not Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's not. So if you're expecting that, please don't. It's not. It's honestly, it's definitely not nearly as good as Final Fantasy VII Remake so far. But it's good. It's good, and I'm excited to put more hours into it to make Clive more powerful and customize in the way I want to. I don't know how gear is. I know you can apply like bangles and different accessories like rings and stuff to give you boosts in like your attack boost, your defense boost, magic and things like that. But I don't know how outfits work. I'm assuming probably not because there was no selection screen for it. But then again, this was just demo, first opening hours of the game. You're still young, Clive. I don't think the game really begins until Clive is a bit older. So maybe there'll be more. I hope it is. I hope there's more customization. I hope there's more outfits you can wear and things like that. But I think also too they're trying to keep it canon for the entire game, so you might not be able to change your clothes as much. That's okay. I mean, again, I go back to Final Fantasy VII Remake. You couldn't change Cloud's clothes, and I was fine with that. I like his outfit anyway. Clive, because of the time period he's in, I think I would have liked a little bit of customization, and it might be, but as I could tell, it didn't seem that way. But anyway, I'm sorry, I almost burped on the microphone. All in all, I am intrigued. I've already pre-ordered the game. I'll be able to play it day one. And there will be more Final Fantasy 16 content on this channel. So if you like this video and you like Final Fantasy, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like and subbing to the channel, really appreciate it. I enjoyed my experience. Honestly, I wish I had the game so I could play more. I like it that much. I'm ready to see how the world is. I don't think this is open world, so I'm interested to see how they handled the story. I wonder if it's going to be a lot like God of War Ragnarok or like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, where you can go to different areas of the map and they're explorable and there's side quests and things like that. I'm fine with that. I would rather have that than an open world. So I hope that's what it is. But yeah, all in all, man, listen, I'm very intrigued, and this is a different vibe for the Final Fantasy franchise, and I welcome it. I think it's definitely different. Obviously, I'm looking forward to Rebirth. I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But this is definitely something different, and it feels different. And but it's the same Final Fantasy we know and love. The music and chocobos running around. It's still everything we love. It's just in a darker setting, and um, I'm all for it. So anyway, with that being said, I know I rambled on for a while. I'll go ahead and end the video right here. Just let me know what you guys think about the demo, if you played it or if you've already pre-ordered Final Fantasy 16. What are you looking forward to most? And with that being said, we'll see you in the next video. Stay dead, my friends.